What's going on, you good humans? Welcome to guest episode 211 of Good Humans podcast with one of the greatest AFL players that I've been lucky enough to have a chat to, and his name's Lachie Henderson. He played 206 games for a variety of clubs. He played for Brisbane Lions, Carlton Blues, and also the Geelong Cats. He scored over 100 goals and had an incredible career, which was really cool to dive deep into it, to learn all about his upbringing, his AFL career, but also his life after AFL, which is really cool. He started a jewellery business called Chadwick Hill with his wife, and it's been really cool to see what he's up to now after his career. If you're enjoying the episode, make sure you hit that like or subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. We're trying to grow these video episodes, which is really, really cool. If you enjoyed the episode, give us that 5-star rating. Tell a friend about it. There's so much exciting stuff coming up on this podcast. So if you can continue to support, it would mean the absolute world to me. Also, if you want to learn more about the wellbeing workshops that I run and all of the work that I do with the Good Human Factory, we have new merch coming out next week. You can use the code GoodHuman and you get you can use code podcast and you can get a big 25% off all of our merch over at thegoodhumanfactory.com and learn everything else you need to learn about the Good Human Factory. And that's enough from me. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome to Good Humans Podcast, Lachie Henderson. Welcome to Good Humans Podcast, Lachie Henderson. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. Good. I'm excited for this one. This is my type of podcast. This one, nice and chilled, sitting on a couch.
I know.
It'll be nice.
Nah, thank you so much for popping over. You're my second guest in my new house that I've just moved into, up in the hills here in Eleanor. It's very nice looking out. We can see the ocean. We can see my sauna. And yeah, we're just sitting in the lounge room having a chat. And we've been having a quick bit of a yarn before recording right now. And we have many different similarities in weird ways. You know, we're both athletes that are on the other side of our athletic career. We both have partners who have jewellery businesses. You have some really cool connections to the surfing industry, which is quite rare, especially for people in AFL. I have interviewed a few AFL players who didn't know much about surfing at all. I had Isaac Quainer on from Collingwood and also Jack Crisp from Collingwood. So as much as I always hear from AFL fans, everyone usually hates Collingwood, but I go for Collingwood. So
you're a Collingwood man, okay.
I just because I've only interviewed two guys.
I was Collingwood growing up.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was a mad Collingwood supporter growing up. So I think now that I've finished, there's still a little soft spot for them now.
Yeah. Okay.
Little, not much, just a little.
Normally I say that and people are like, But anyway, so we're going to have a cool chat today because you've been on quite a journey through your career. You played for 3 clubs, over 200 games in the AFL. Insane. But we're going to get to know your story a little bit today. So first question I ask everyone is, what are you grateful for right now, today in life?
My kids. Easy, yeah. That's an easy one. I think every day that I go through, I'm actually out for most of the day today, so the 7-year-old's at school, but the 1.5 to nearly 2-year-old is at home. And I don't get to see him until 4 o'clock this afternoon because I've got a hectic day. And I hate it. Because I just am so grateful for them both. So the 7-year-old's at school now, so you sort of miss him for most of the day anyway. But I'll just love being at home because I just get to be around the little fella, and it was the same when the 7-year-old was at home too. So yeah, I think that's just an easy answer to that one. And when you were asking that question just then, you put me on the spot a little bit, the old gratefulness. I wasn't sure how I was going to answer it, and straight away just came to me. It
comes to you, hey, when you get to speak from the heart with gratitude rather than from the head, it's just like comes to you straight away.
Because when you ask the question, the head comes in first, and the head's like, oh God, this is the first question, I'm going to stuff this up, and then the heart comes in, bang, there it is. So that's easy. Yeah, that's a very, very easy one.
Well, thanks for sharing that to kick us off. How we're going to do this podcast, as I do all of mine, as I told you, is go on a bit of a journey through your story. You said you had a podcast for a while that did the same thing, so you know very much probably this format of getting guests to reflect on their journey, try and find some of the challenges you've gone through, some of the wins and some of the lessons that you've learned that you can maybe pass on with my audience. So let's go back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up? What was life like as a kid? What do I need to know until let's hear? I mean, unless you say you started playing footy at probably 4, which you probably did. Talk me through your childhood. What I need to know and how you got introduced to sport.
Yeah, grew up in a little small country town called Birregurra, which is southwest of Geelong by about 45 minutes. So just a country boy, really. Primary school there, played cricket, tennis, footy, golf. Golf was probably my main one growing up that I played the most. Surfed as a kid whenever I could. Dad used to take me down a fair bit. We were down in Lawn a fair bit. We're only 20 minutes from Lawn. So, yeah, that was sort of me growing up. I just sort of played all sports. I wasn't amazing at football at that point. I didn't really make any rep teams till I reckon I was 16. So all my mates were were playing in the rep teams, and I just sort of was good. I was always good. Like, I was always one of the top players, but I just loved playing sport, and golf was probably the one that I was the best at. I played that. There's a video of me when I was 2 years old with one of Dad's sticks, and all after primary school, we lived a couple hundred metres from the local golf club, and I just spent all my hours after school at the golf course. So that was what I played most.
Was that ever a potential career path, golf? Were you like progressing athletically and you're like, maybe golf, maybe not AFL?
I never thought about it like that, but I never really thought about AFL like that until I was mid-teens.
Small country town,
From a small country town. I just didn't think of it. I'd like to look back, and I've got a few mates that think I'm probably a better golfer than what I am and think that I could do it. And there's a part of me that thought I could.
What's your handicap? What was the lowest you got? You play off 2 now?
Yeah, the lowest I got was 0.6. So I just haven't got to scratch yet.
Pretty bloody good.
I'm
not very good.
I'm 2 technically, because you look at my thing, but I don't play enough now. I would argue that I'm a 5 or a 6 now, comfortably, because I just don't play enough. But yeah, I've always just had the ability to pick up the golf stick, whatever, and and play golf. But no, I never really took it that seriously. And I think I don't have the mental capacity for golf. I'm an overthinker. Got a little twitch if I hold the putter the right way, like what you'd call a normal golf grip. I have this little twitch when I putt. And so I've had to do the claw grip. So I don't think mentally I would have been a handle. If I'm standing over a 2-foot putt to win a tournament, mate, I would be a mess. I was an overthinker as a football player, and that's in a team sport. So maybe the opposite. Maybe I'd be okay, because if I was in an individual sport, but I don't think I would have been able to make it unless I'd have done a lot of work on this.
Which we all need to do. Talk me through high school for you. What was that like? Were you into your education? What as you were going through high school, did you have any sort of career future ideas, or were you just like enjoying being a kid?
Yeah, no, not really. I went to Geelong College in year 7, so I made the trip on the bus to college. I didn't probably take school that seriously, especially in my last few years, because that's sort of when I knew I was going to play footy. I was sort of lucky. Back then, you sort of just got told. So I knew sort of in my last year of school that I was going to get drafted.
Yeah, wow. So talk me through that. What was when did you start to get recognised that you had some talent in football? And when did you start to get that self-belief of, maybe the AFL is something? I had a chat to a friend of mine over in WA the other day, Braden Ainsworth, who played a couple games in the AFL for West Coast. And anyway, he was kind of a fringe player, kind of played for a bit, delisted. But he didn't really have a junior career that was that good. Not saying that yours wasn't that good, but wasn't really representative. Didn't really have this sights, but then just had a really good year in the waffle over in WA, and then basically got drafted like the next year. So it happened like really quick for him. What was that journey like for you into, like you just said, in high school, you already knew you were going to pretty much be playing the AFL. That's a big thing to hear when you're a 16-year-old kid. Yeah.
It was probably a bit later than that. It was probably year 12 when I sort of got the confirmation.
17, yeah.
There was a game in year 10. This is the one that the recruiters over the years have always told me that was the game that sort of put me on the map. I'm pretty sure I was year 9 to play ones for APS school was good, and I'd never played ones. A couple of my mates played ones in year 9, and that's when I thought I was like...
And that like the seniors?
The seniors, yeah. The ones were the seniors in school, though, so the year 12s and that. And I got in year 10, and I actually got dropped after a few games. I'm pretty sure it was the game back. So I got dropped for one game, and they brought me back. And it was at Xavier in Melbourne. I kicked 7 as a forward. So that was the game that they sort of put me on the map.
Mm-hmm. And that's playing for your high school team?
The high school team, yeah. This is just a high school team. Yeah. So we had to play for our high school team, and then we go and play for the Geelong Falcons, which was back then the TAC Cup, which was sort of like the rep team. And then through year 11, had a really good year, and then actually broke my leg. I was in the AIS squad and broke my leg early on in the year. And
First big injury,
yeah. Didn't actually know I broke it. It was my fibula, which is the non-weight-bearing bone in your bottom of your leg, so your tibia and your fib. Broke the fib and didn't know it was broken for a couple of weeks, and ended up going to South Africa with the AIS at the time and jogging around on it. Geez, I was in some pain, but I was jogging around on it, and they sort of I don't even know how it really happened, but through a few people, they sort of just said, look, take your time. And then they picked me to play Vic Country. And this actually created a bit of a stir, actually, with Hawthorn at draft camp, which I can tell you the story if I need to.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. So you're in this is just so interesting for me, because this is you're in high school, dealing with, puberty, girls, all the things that you go through when you're in year 10, 11, 12 at high school. But you're getting whispers that you're getting scouted to play in the AFL, which is what every, you know, especially a young Victorian boy and girl, you know, a lot of people and their parents and the families, like, it's everything, the AFL, when you're in Melbourne.
Big time.
So it's a big thing, and you're like 10, 11, you're 10, 11, 12, 16, 17, 18 here, and like, oh, I'm going to be playing that. Yeah, what's that sort of like for the ego and for the confidence as a...
Confidence huge. I'd like to think I didn't have an ego then, but I'm sure there might be a few people back then that would have had opposite. It'd be worse now with social media and that. Like, even I know who don't follow AFL that much. I know some of the kids they're talking about already. Yeah. So it's way worse now if you want to look at it that way.
So was your school a pretty good school that you were playing?
Yeah, it was a great school. Yeah.
Okay,
so we actually won a premiership in 2011, which was huge for us. Yeah. 2006. Yeah. So that was huge for us because we were a good school, but because we didn't give out scholarships. So you have like Haileybury College and Scotch College.
Literally give people.
Like Haileybury College in that year had 21 out of the 22 on scholarships.
Yeah, wow.
We didn't have one.
Yeah, okay.
So that was huge for us.
Basically buying players in high school.
Exactly, exactly. And so they would have called it education back then, but anyway. So that's sort of happened. And what happened was that I didn't play much footy at all in my year 12 year, and they picked me for Vic Country, and I said no. I shouldn't play for it, give someone else a chance, because I literally had played. So you had a really good year 11 game. And then you broke your leg, and then your team was doing really good. No, the 2012, the team wasn't doing that. Why do I keep saying 2012? Sorry, year 12.
2006,
2007.
So you won in your year 11 year. You guys had a blinder and you guys won, and you're like, sweet, team's looking good.
Everything's good,
and you broke your leg.
Broke my leg, and then I didn't play the Vic Country, so I didn't play the Vic games, which was a sort of a big step for what people wanted to see, because you're playing against the best of the best. You're playing against WA, South Australia, Vic Metro, Vic Country. And so I didn't play because they told me not to. I essentially got word through whoever. I don't even know how I got the word, but it said, just don't bother playing. You don't need to. You're fine. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was called. I remember Hawthorn at the time. I had this round table chat, because you go to draft camp and you chat with all the teams. And that round table, and the Hawthorn guys just asked me a couple of questions, real simple, the recruiters and that's fine. And then I walked into, they said, you got another meeting with Sam Mitchell, the captain, now the coach of Hawthorn. And he was always known as tough. And I think it was the high performance manager, I'm not sure, but they just drilled me. They just called me, they were testing me, but they just called me arrogant, and like, you just knew you were going to play, so you just didn't bother trying to show up and just get through your injury and stuff like that. And anyway, in the end, I think it didn't finish well, because it was a test. It was just a test. They weren't trying to, like, they just wanted to see how I reacted. And finally, I was blubbering my way through it, because I just walked into an onslaught. Like, I was blubbering my way through it. And then in the end, I finally just said, look, I got told I was trying to give someone else a chance to show what they've got. And then it was just like, okay, thanks, bye.
So you're like coming out from like just being a good kid. Like, so you had the injury as well. So you're like, I'm not.
I had the injury. Like, I played one game back. And back then, like, I wasn't rehabbing or anything. I was just jogging around in year 12, having a good time. Yeah. So didn't play well when I got back. No, I would have been a waste of space. Yeah. Like, I really would have been. Mm-hmm. And so that was a good little sort of lesson for me back early on. I think more about just not being ready, but just understanding that there's always going to be little tests coming. Even if you've been told to do something, you're trying to do the right thing, it can be viewed in a very different way. Mm-hmm. And rightfully so. Whatever they were trying to do, I've never really got an answer, but I figure it was just to test me, and they probably found out that I, under pressure, bumble until I finally got there.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And then in year 12 at high school, do you apply to go in the draft? So you're playing straight out of high school, and you're in year 12 at high school and you get drafted in the first round, right, for Brisbane?
Yeah, so I went straight to Brisbane. So I finished school, had schoolies booked down in Byron. Yeah. And the draft was a week before, I think. Mm-hmm. And then got drafted to Brisbane, pick number 8.
Perfect, not far from schoolies.
Yeah, but ended up saying no to schoolies. I should have gone. I tried to do the right thing straight away. I probably should have gone, looking back on it, just said one last time, because the club said go. Like, you can go. And I said, no, I'll do the right thing, professional. Come straight in and do it. And then as a 17-year-old, flew to Brisbane and straight up there.
just into like a share house with another player or two and just have
I was
to
really
learn?
lucky. Yeah, I was really lucky. I got Simon Black, a legend of the game, and he sort of became a father figure. I was supposed to stay with him for a month, stay with him for 6.
Oh,
I
wow.
think I overstayed my welcome by the end of it.
But he's a bit more of a senior player in the team. And
Yeah, he was real senior.
Yeah.
Very senior. So one of the top guys, and he sort of taught me the ways and learned a lot from him. And then I was
that's
lucky
nice
enough
to bring like a young
They do
18-year-old rookie. Oh, they do that a bit.
They do it a lot, yeah. It's a
Okay.
big part of it to get those first years in with a senior player.
Yeah, cool.
Whether it be the senior or whether it just be someone up there, just someone to sort of learn from.
Yeah.
And then I was with Josh Drummond, another guy who sort of became like an older brother to me. So I
Yeah.
was with him for the next 18 months before I left. And I was really lucky up there. Like they were just two really good people to learn from.
It's so important, those people who can like hold space for you and not, talk down on you because you're a rookie, but sort of show you the ropes. Like, so important. And I've interviewed so many different athletes, and you hear of some great stories and some really negative stories, and like the difference it can make in the performance in the person, especially a young person, can like make or break careers who you get to like help you on your sort of transition into the top league. So yeah, what was it like playing your first AFL game? And then talk me through what it looked like getting traded to Carlton. I'm not big on AFL, so sorry. I listened to a few of your previous episodes, and you have some very well researched legends who have interviewed you. I'm not that guy. I'm just going to be curious. Talk me through your years at. It's good that I even know that you went from Lions to Carlton.
I love that you don't know. I can just skip through some of this and we can just get to the stuff we really want to talk about.
No. I mean, I really want to talk about this because I think it really sets stuff up and just takes people on the journey. So, tell me what you recall, because it was, 15 years ago now.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I can't remember the lead up to my first game. I would have been nervous because I was nervous for every single one of my games. But I remember I had 3 touches for the whole game. Mm-hmm. And those 3 touches, I reckon, were in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I didn't touch the ball. And then I reckon I sat out because back then that was the end days of you could actually sit on the bench for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I think by the end of the game, it was a really close game. That it was against Collingwood too, actually. That it was a bit of a waste of space, and Lee just took me off completely, and I sat on the bench, and then we ended up winning by 2 points, and that's all that matters in your first game.
Yeah.
You just want to win.
You won.
Like it makes no difference. It's your first game of footy. Like these stars come in here now and just dominate their first games. That was definitely not me. And then I had 2 great years at Brisbane. I really did. I played 15 games. I was in and out as a tall forward at that time. I was played a little bit of ruck as well.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a ruck crisis. I couldn't complain. Like it was not about me not liking the club, and especially as a kid, you don't know what a club's like when you walk in. You've got no idea.
Yeah, you're
like,
learning
it is
good
what
culture
it is.
Yeah.
And then trade week came, and I was in Torquay actually. My girlfriend at the time was Torquay based, funnily enough, with where everything goes. And we were there, and the start of the week, there was news that Brendan Favola, really huge name from Carlton, wanted to get traded, and Brisbane Carlton wanted to trade him, and Brisbane wanted him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then they offered up a couple of players, which sort of ruffled a few feathers, I think, with the players they offered up. Brisbane offered up. And then we were sitting on the couch on Wednesday afternoon. Trade week finishes at that point I think it was 12 o'clock on Friday, but 5 p.m. on Friday, whatever. It was on Friday. And I got asked the question. I was sitting there, I was like, what does that mean for you if another forward comes? Because they already had Jonathan Brown and Daniel Bradshaw. And I was like, don't know. And so I called my agent at the time.
And you're like 19 at this stage, 20?
Yeah.
Approx.
I reckon I was...
You're young.
I was 20.
Yeah,
I
you're
was
20.
I was 20.
20.
And I called him and I said, hey, what do you think? And he said, well, we can explore it. The next 36 hours was the craziest 36 hours ever.
Really? What? Because were you kind of like pretty happy to move back down home?
It was more about
to
opportunity.
Being in Melbourne and more near the family, and like opportunity in the club to play some more games at Carlton.
All of that. Ooh. And I look back on it, and it would have been very interesting. I say I don't have any regrets, and I like to think I don't. It would have been really interesting if I didn't make that call.
If you stayed at Brisbane, where your career would have gone.
But I made it for the reasons I made it. I'll stick by that. It was mainly opportunity, be closer to friends and family. And yeah, it sort of happened. I still remember the Friday morning because I was under contract. I'd signed, so I was contracted for another 2 years with Brisbane.
Yeah.
So Brisbane could have said no.
Yeah.
But as I know the story to be, that was actually what Carlton asked for on the Monday. The trade they got, they actually asked for me and another draft pick, apparently.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on behind
But
closed doors.
I remember sitting at one point, we're at Etihad Stadium because that's where the office of my agent was at the time, my player manager. And I remember sitting there and I remember having a chat to Vossi, who was the coach at the time. And I was in tears because I was just so overwhelmed with the whole thing. I was a young kid making this decision. And I had to make the decision.
Yeah,
It was my decision. Like, I didn't really have had people.
Yeah, do you want to
talking
go to
about it.
Carlton? They
And I just remember saying, and Vossi said, look, I don't know, I'll see, I'll think. And then he must have spoken to his guys and the club said, Brisbane said, yeah, we'll let you go. And that was it.
Yeah, wow.
And
So
so-
wait, is Vossi at Brisbane?
He was at Brisbane then, yeah. Now he's a Carlton coach.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, that's sort of how it went down. And then I moved to Carlton, and it sort of happened really quickly. And I think, yeah, it was a decision that was made. I chatted to as many Brisbane players as I could,
Yeah.
and sort of spoke to them and let them know what was going on. And it's just part of the business now. Back then it was probably a little bit different, but
Yeah.
now it's just players moving left, right, and centre.
It's crazy, all the trades, which you have another one later in your career that also created a bit of controversy if you want to go into it. But tell me about your years at Carlton. You had over 100 games for Carlton. Obviously a massive club in the AFL, like a core club that's been around for a long time. How was that moving there? And talk me through your period there, because I know from my small amount of research I've done, the tail end of your time at Carlton wasn't the best for you, I guess, mental and personal health, as well as, I guess other reasons if you want to go into it. But talk us through your years at Carlton, how that was.
Yeah, it was good. It was the first sort of 2 to 3 years, even 4 years were great. We were sort of up there for 2010, played finals 10, 11 and 13.
Yeah.
Had a heap of injuries of our team in 2012 after we got real close to what we felt was really close in 2011.
Yeah.
We had sort of our whole spine, so the middle of our sort of team go down with our backs and sort of all the way through the middle. Big ruck went down, a couple of our backs went down, I went down, another forward went down. So, yeah, it was a bit of a hard year, 2012. 2013 we scraped in because of the Essendon drug saga, but ended up winning the first final that we played, which was awesome. And then 2014, 2015 was when it all started sort of unravelling a little bit. And I was thinking about leaving 2014 because I was struggling and just with what was going on at the footy club, and then made the decision 2015, and that was a whole debacle that is sort of well known now and spoken about. And I actually spoke about it a bit more in depth a few weeks ago on a podcast. But I've always said that it was the worst year of my life, but the best year of my life because I learnt so much. In the same respect, I did not deal with myself very well at all. I didn't play good footy for the club. I didn't handle myself well personally. And on the flip side, the club didn't handle it very well either, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So it was sort of just the perfect storm, the storm in a teacup, whichever way you want to, analogy you want to use. And yeah, got out of there in a pretty bad way and had to sort of rebuild myself a little bit for partly my own fault, but there was a lot of other factors.
What year is this? 2015. So you're 25 years old here, 26 years old. Like it's such big things to go through as like young men. You know, your frontal lobe's still developing until you're 25. Like there's so much pressure and warped view of your reality as a, young star football player, and then like having to be in the media, the scrutiny, like it's like. And to be able to at least, have the accountability yourself and say, there's some things that I'm probably, responsible for as well there that I could have done differently. Like, I think that's so important to have that accountability. But, yeah, you just get thrust into this world of expectation in that age. But then it's also like there's this expectation from your point of view that everyone around you is like, going to do their job so you can go and succeed. Like, it's so interesting being a young athlete. So do you want to explain to my listeners, because I'm sure there's probably a few that aren't AFL fans, what happened when you left? From my understanding, you asked the club for a trade to Geelong, and there was still a few games to go in the season, and they just didn't play you for the last couple of games out of almost like spite. That's my very short research. Look at me, I actually did do a bit of research for this episode more than I usually do. But yeah, talk me through what happened there, because I think looking at that, it's like you're actually doing the right thing, and it's like telling the team early what happened there.
Yeah, pretty sort of that. Like the arguments to be not to play me are valid. Like don't get injury, keep they can get the most for the trade. Like they're all valid. It was essentially that I told them on a Tuesday, and at the end of that meeting, they just said, "Don't come back. Don't come back to the club. Like you're gone. We want you to come back Thursday, and we want you to stand in front of the boys and tell them that you're leaving," which I did. Which I look back on now with a bit of a split sort of view on it. I'm happy that I did it, but I can't believe they told me I had to do it.
Yeah, wow. So they paraded you in front, almost like.
Be careful with the words you
parade.
use. Yeah,
parade's
like,
not the word.
They said you come and tell the boys. Like, and I think again, I look at it in a way that there's two sides to everything, and that could be a respectful thing as well from the club, saying, "Hey, you probably should tell the boys what decision you made." Yeah, fair enough too.
But you get to make that decision, not forced on you.
Yeah, it was sort of felt a bit forced at that point. And I think it was just handled in the way that I'm sure and I know for a fact that other boys have told clubs earlier than I have. But the thing where I have to put it on myself is that I probably wasn't playing. I'd come off a shocking game that weekend too. Like I played horrendously. And so I think there was just a lot of emotion there. I think the club was under a lot of stress in 2015 as well. So, as I've always said, like anything with podcasts, they could pull out snippets of what I said and paint me out to be the worst person of all time. But it was twofold. Yeah. Like, I did things wrong. Mm-hmm. They did things wrong. Yeah. I hope that everyone learned from them. Mm-hmm. I did. Mm-hmm. And we move on. Yeah. That's sort of where it is now. Like, it's 10 years ago now. Like, it's no big deal. And I think looking back on it now, you talked about accountability before. It took me a long time to actually, like, I just went hiding. I was like, I'm not doing media. Like, I'm out. Like, leave me alone, everyone. Like, I don't want any part of any of this. I'm just going to play footy. I'm going to do the least amount of everything else as I possibly can. Yeah. Which was, again, probably not the right way of doing it. Like, again, that's just hiding away from it. Where I think now players, and there's been examples this year, players just like, look, I did this. I stuffed up. I had my reasons for doing it. We move on. Accountability, it gets moved on. There's Oscar Allen did it this year. He had a meeting with one of the coaches, and he got found out, and it blew up. But I can guarantee you that's happening left, right, and centre. Yeah. They're just not being found out. And and I think the accountability piece is a huge part of it. And I think it just took me, just from me personally, from a selfish point of view, to not worry about anyone else but myself. It took me too long to do it, and I was just I was probably in a really bad way. Is my get out of jail free card, but it doesn't matter. You can still take accountability a bit earlier.
When you say bad way, do you mean just like personally dealing with, the pressures of playing top level footy, going through many injuries, in a club where the culture is not really aligning with your values? A just perfect storm of it all, and then trying to be 25 years old and deal with all that is like...
Yeah, I've had a psychologist since I was in AIS, so 2006. Still talk to her to this day, and I was on and off with her sort of throughout my Carlton years. 2015, I think I talked to her every week. Saw her every week. Yeah, and went to Geelong, and I was just broken in terms of confidence, footy wise and personal. And I played the first practice match, and we got flogged by Collingwood, actually. They keep coming up. It was just a practice match, no big deal. Scotty called me the next morning, the coach, and just said, look, that's not how we play, don't worry about it. But I remember in the third quarter standing out there, I know exactly where I was in Geelong on Academia Park. I know I was just outside 50 in the middle of the ground, at the Barwon River end. And I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I've got no idea. I just feel so lost. It's not funny. And the next night I went down to one of the guys in Anglesea down for dinner. Got home at about 11 o'clock that night. Sat in my garage and I wrote, and I've still got this in my notes. I wrote this whole big dot point about myself. And it was all just negative stuff about footy and life, and I can't do this and I can't do that, and I'm this and I'm that. And I copied it, put it in an email and sent it straight to Rosie. my psych. She called me at 7 a.m. the next morning and said, we've got a bit of work to do, don't we? And I said, yeah. And that was sort of the start of 2016, sort of rebuilding myself. I did a mindfulness course. I chatted with Simon Lloyd a lot, who'd come in as a sort of a mentor for the players at that point. He came into a lot more than that. I worked with him a lot, and I worked with Rosie as well in 2016, just to sort of build myself back up to playing good footy again, which I got to, and then played well in 2017 before injuries hit again. So, yeah, it was just a lot of that was probably the hardest mentally that I've gone through.
Yeah, that reflection is just so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Like, to have the courage to share it, but also the self-awareness after that game to write all that stuff down and to send it to your psychologist rather than just like continue to bury it down, which unfortunately so many, especially men do. So to have that awareness to do that is like really powerful. How important is sort of using a psychologist, not as a tool, but as a way for you to bring yourself back into that balance and to slow down the noise up here? How important has that been for you along your journey?
Yeah, it is really important. I think for me, going to the psychologist for a long time, it's sort of because I've moved around a bit as well. Going and spending the time just on yourself, especially when you've got a family and that, it just get pulled in all different directions. I'm actually, straight after this, going to my psychologist.
Oh, amazing.
I found a new one up here that I've just started with. So it's a thing that I keep doing now that's, again, helping me. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm hugely self-aware. Mm-hmm. I always have, and Rosie's always said I'm hugely self-aware. But until you say things out loud and you're actually real about them, I just don't think you, even as self-aware as you think you are, or you might be the most self-aware person of all time, I just don't think it's real if it's just in your head. And so I think the best part for me is just being able to just speak it out, just get it out and spend that time yourself on it. And that's why I made it a huge effort of mine. Like, even we set this for a time and I actually brought it an hour earlier because I would have had to cancel the psych. And I said, I'm not cancelling the psych.
Glad you did.
And so I've just sort of made it a priority back. And for a long time I didn't. And not that anything, like, I just know I need it at the moment. And so it has been a big part of it for a long time. And Rosie's been the best ever. Like, it's been now nearly, nearly 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's been 19 years, 2006. Jesus.
That's crazy.
So nearly 20 years of working with her. So she knows me pretty well, which is good. But I would always say to anyone out there that no matter what you think, it's just, even just look at it from a point where you're spending an hour on yourself. Just leave it at that. Nothing more, because it is. You're going there just about you. So if you've got a family and you're crazy, and especially if you're a male because you just get caught up doing all the other things, just go and spend the hour because it is your time for you. And if that's all it is, no one can really get on top of you. Not like you're going out to play golf for 4 hours or for going for a surf even, because that's what a lot of surfers say, is that's their mental thing. Great if that's what it is, but someone could probably, the partner could probably say, hey, you've just been surfing, like you should be home doing X, Y and Z. No, if you go to a psychologist, that's a bit different. Yeah.
And it's so important, and now the conversation is becoming so normalized, but like, yeah, more people like you and myself who talk about psychology is just like a nonchalant thing. It's like, hey, you just going to work on yourself, you're just going to spend a bit of time on yourself. Like, it's like selfish not seeing a psychologist, like not seeing a psychologist, but it's selfish if you're not giving yourself that time to work on yourself, to sort of bring yourself into that place where you can show up best for the people around you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about now going to Geelong. You also told me before we started on air that you went on a trip with Wild Ark because you're friends with Mick Fanning. I'm guessing it's around this time of 2014, 2015 from the short timeline you gave me before we started. So yeah, and I think this comes back to doing things for yourself as well, as much as being an athlete, and it's your everything. Tell me about your Wild Ark trip, this idea of conservation, how important that became to you, and yeah, maybe tell me about the trip, because you're telling me real quickly before we started you had a bit of a scare when you're over there. But yeah, the importance of juggling, not just being an AFL footy player. There's more to you than that. Sorry, a bit of a loaded question, but you probably understand.
Yeah, there's a few questions in that. There's a few answers in that question. So I went down to Geelong 2016, wanted to find some things to do. I was sort of dabbling in a bunch of different things at Carlton. And I don't even know who it was. And if they listen to this podcast, they're going to probably send me a text. But someone just said, you got to go meet this guy down in Torquay. And I was living in Torquay at the time because he knew I was a surfer and I loved all that. And his name was Jack Perry, who you know very well.
Yeah.
And he ran a couple of surfing businesses down there, and I sort of met him and met Paulie Garrard from G-Boards as well, and sort of just started working with them, and then through that got integrated into the surfing world.
So this is in your late 20s, you moved to Geelong, but you're also starting to look outside of football to find other interests for potential post-career opportunities. You enjoyed surfing, you're in Geelong, all right, I'll go surf some more.
Yeah, Surf Coast had Bells and all that just down the road.
Perfect, yeah.
So I was surfing a lot and needed a great, I had all my mates were in Melbourne at that point, so I was back in Geelong, and now they're all gone back to Geelong after I left. But I was getting I needed a nice little crew around me again, with friends, and so I met Jack, and Jack's been absolutely brilliant as a mate, but then also as a bit of a mentor with business stuff as well, and in the surfing world. And then just, as you know, and your listeners would probably know, in the surfing world, it's very relationships driven. So then just started meeting people left, right and centre. And met Mick through Jack, and then met the guys that started Wild Ark. And I don't know, my memory's not always the greatest. Maybe it's too many concussions, I don't know. But I don't know why it sort of came up. I just think I wanted to jump into it. Maybe it was because I was seeing what Mick was doing, and I just sort of jumped into it and said, hey, give me an intro. And I chatted to those guys, and they were doing a trip to Papua New Guinea. I could look back and find out what year it was. It was 17 or 18, one of the two. And they were going to trek the 2K rainforest because they were trying to set up a conservation area around it to keep it sort of not logged, because there's a bunch of logging. I actually got flown out on helicopter and saw the logging devastation, and it was crazy.
Wild.
Nuts. And so we trekked it for 2.5 days.
In the off-season?
In the off-season, yep. So finished the season, then went and trekked it. I think it was a week or two after the off-season finished. And it was the craziest experience of all time. So it was where we trekked parts that no white man had ever been to. Wow. And we're going through jungles and if you watch it, it's
New Guinea's dangerous too.
Yeah, fully booked. So we weren't allowed out of we stayed one night in the hotel before we got there. We weren't allowed out of the hotel. And then got driven up with guards to the start of the trek, and then you're in the rainforest. So and they we had people with us. We had a bunch of the whole crew with us. Yeah. And the trek was gnarly, absolutely crazy. We're going up and down these full-on mountains through jungle, and it is jungle, rainforest jungle, and in the craziest heat. You're sweating from 5 minutes in because it was so hot. And on the first full day, so we stayed a night. We started half the day. We went, stayed a night, had an earthquake that I think reached upwards of not exactly where we were, but where the earthquake epicenter was 7 on the Richter scale. So I had a proper earthquake in between these 3 volcanoes, which was pretty cool. And then the second day, I had a full day trekking from 6 a.m. and then started walking up this last hill. And I remember walking up this hill, and I started going and getting a bit woozy and swaying and stuff, and got to just got to get to the top. And I'd been a bit of a hero that day, the stupid AFL ego. Yeah. And there was a couple of old guys with me. Carrying a little bit more. I was going back to help the old guys and coming back again. And I just mustn't have drunk enough. I'm a huge sweater. And the last thing I remember for about a 45-minute trek before I came to again, properly came to, was I sat down, took off all my clothes, but I didn't take my socks off, stupidly, because that would have cooled me down, and then full body cramps. And I just remember the pain just being out of this world. And they were told me after the fact that I was just on the ground screaming. Wow. Because I had full body, full proper body cramps.
Dehydration's a real thing.
It was full heat stroke. And so they were on the radio, because I had the radio, trying to work out if they could chop me out if it got to a point, because I found out after the fact that actually one of Dad's friends lost his daughter a fair while ago to heat stroke. And luckily Dad didn't know what was going on, because they couldn't, they were just dealing with the helicopter at the time, and they'd sort of had a plan there was some story that if I was still going after another hour when it was really bad, that they were going to get the helicopter up and sort it out. And it was obviously a big call because it was going to cost a shit ton of money. And they were going to have to work it out. So I think they were trying to play the game a little bit. Fair enough. Anyway, I came to... The next thing I remember after that was... So that went for about 45 minutes, and then I was the team that... We had about 4 or 5 of us in the team at the point, and they were just taking care of me.
Just trying to cool you down.
Feeding me what they could feed me, water slowly, because you can't drink water too quick, so I had to be really slow, massaging me, and that went on for another, I think, 2 or 3 hours. And like I'm just forever grateful, and I think I hope that at the time after the fact I sent them all messages. I know I did, but I hope they realised it. But 8 years down the track, I'm looking in the camera right now if you're just listening, thank you. But they just took care of me so well, and I think they had a pretty horrible night where they had to stay that night because we were sort of stuck in between. We weren't supposed to camp where we camped, but we couldn't go.
Yeah.
And then the next morning we woke up and I had a pretty bad night because I kept waking up cramping, but I couldn't move because every time I moved, I'd cramp. So I actually remember I had one of those sort of swag tents that you come out through your head. So you just like worm your way out. I need to go to the toilet because I've drunk so much water, but I couldn't move. So anytime I bent any part of my body, I'd cramp again. So I remember rolling on my side, getting on my side, stopping, staying relaxed, and then inching my way up till I got my torso out of the tent, and then just angled my way to pee because I couldn't pee properly because I couldn't stand up. And I thought, I'm stuffed. Like I can't. Like we had another half-day trek to go. Anyway, set up a stick the next day. Said, look, I've got to get this done. Like it just got to get it done because there was a chopper coming in that day anyway because they were dropping off some guys that couldn't, some scientists that were coming with us that couldn't do the trek. And they just said, at that point, I sort of made the trek, got there in the end, got to the base camp or the village we were going to on the top of the mountain, on top of the 3rd or 4th mountain that we climbed. And they just said, look, you've got to go home because if you go down again, we have to get an extra chopper because another chopper's not coming because we were supposed to stay there for 4 nights, I think.
Yeah, wow.
And just spend time there. So I'm so flat that I missed that, but I couldn't argue the point with them because if something had have happened to me, and it didn't, I ended up going back and then flying back the day after. So I stayed one night in the hotel and then flew back the day and actually went straight down to Byron to one of the founders' place and just spent time with him for a couple of days just to recover.
Yeah, wow.
But
how humbling was that after, playing the top level of football? You're epitome of an athlete.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing, hiking, and I ran a 100-kilometre ultramarathon last year.
Oh, good on you.
Different, but it's the same kind of like, I'll just be an athlete, I'll be right. And then I started to train and learn a lot about the training and the body and the physiology and the importance of fueling right and getting the right water and the right salts and the right protein and carbs in the body. And it's like your body just like switches off sometimes, even like...
I've had it again, and I'll touch on it. I had it again last year. Have you heard of rhabdomyolysis?
Tell me more about it. It's like when you go for a long run and you haven't run for a long time. I was reading something about never do a marathon without training, which I did as well.
Yeah.
But I was an athlete. But I was reading something the other day. People going, "No, you don't do that. You'll get rhabdo."
Yeah.
Tell me what that is.
I'll circle back to rhabdo, but just the humbling part was a big part of that because I came in just thinking that I was just gonna hammer it and be fine and. Like there was like the couple of scientists were much older guys that actually did the trek with us as well, and they nailed it. But I was the one that went down, and so I'm forever grateful for that team for looking after me, and I will just always be forever grateful to them. And in the same breath, I'm forever grateful for how they treated me after it because there was no judgment. Yeah, there was no nothing.
And when you get into survival situations, it's kind of like. It feels good when you can care for someone. It's like it's human nature. It feels nice when you can, support somebody going through a challenge. Yeah,
exactly. And so the recovery wasn't too bad from it. Like I came out of it fine. I spent those few days with him and his kids down at Byron and just had a nice couple of days and just recovering and spending time on the beach. Yeah. And I think I actually trained with him at one point a few days later, just to sort of get moving again. So yeah, it was extremely humbling. But then the second humbling experience I had, which is a little bit funny and embarrassing, was I played a one-off game last year back home at a football game, and I hadn't trained much at all. And I was like, I'll be fine. and it was against a good friend of mine who I'd played a lot of footy with and went to school with as well, and he was coaching Lawn, and it was Birregurra versus Lawn. Played in the centre on ball with him just for the first bounce, really. Anyway, 10 seconds in, got hit right on my rib. Oh, that hurt. Really sore. Anyway, played the game out, tried to do for the first half all the stuff that I used to do, because that's just what I thought, because I hadn't played for a while. And then ended up cramping 5 minutes into the third quarter. I was cramping for the rest of the game. And then that night, a couple of hours after the game, felt fine after the game, got through the game, really sore rib. I got in the shower and peed, and my pee was red, like blood. And I was like, that's not good. And then I was just cooked, absolutely cooked. And then ended up going back to the airport because I had to fly back up here early the next morning. Fell asleep in the car, wrecked, went to bed, fell asleep, alarm went off, got in the plane, went up, got off the plane. I'd texted my doc, but he didn't get back to me until I got off the plane. Told him what was going on, told him I got a hit, told him I was bleeding blood. He said, go to the hospital. And I had to have the kids that day. And I was like, I'll be okay. It's just a shot. I don't think it's a broken rib. I've had 5 or 6 broken ribs. It's fine. I'll be good. Anyway, kept getting bad. Blood kept coming in, and I went, I better go to hospital. So I went to emergency the Sunday night. Had a broken rib. And then they did all the tests on me. I had rhabdo. Rhabdo is, for the way I understand it, is when you haven't prepped yourself well enough and you do too much, it's essentially your muscles bleeding. That's essentially how I understand it. There's probably a better scientific term. But because I hadn't done the work and I hadn't trained myself and I got through the game, they got rhabdo. But CrossFit athletes get rhabdo. Not a guy that's played football that went and just played a local footy game that didn't do too much. So it's extremely embarrassing. But I was cooked. I was cooked for a good, and they said 7 to 10 days do nothing. Wow. Because you can re-cook yourself. But that's my other story of a very humbling experience that I know that if I ever play a one-off game again, I'm going to be very cruisy about it.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and do a bit of training. It's like my dad used to play golden oldies, I remember. I always used to watch them. I'm like, how the fuck do these guys do that? I see just punters now that go and play mid-level footy, NRL, whatever you play, that aren't getting paid as adults. I'm like, oh, it's so much putting your body through. You get smashed.
And if you're not, as I said, if you're not prepped for it, bad things actually
get
happen. But there's so many people out there that just do it and they're fine with it. So
I
don't know. I'd like to think it wouldn't happen again, but that was my other humbling experience.
Yeah, wow. Let's talk about now your time at Geelong, and then actually before we do, I just want to round back real quickly and sort of put a bow on the conservation sort of work, because you started a podcast. I don't know how long it went for. I forgot the name. We both forgot.
They Do What.
They Do What. To learn a bit more, I guess, about climate challenges, environmental concerns. Was that Wild Ark trip the reason that sort of sparked a bit of curiosity in that space? And what's one thing that, as someone who's, done a little bit of research and put a bit of thought into it, what's your sort of consensus of where the planet's going and what we can do to help?
Yeah, it did spark it for sure, and I think They Do What started after that trip, but also just understanding that there is a lot of people out there doing a lot of things. They just don't get the exposure.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting and it was extremely interesting to do, because we sort of did it a little bit like this podcast, or like the Elephant Rope when we did the Elephant Rope, which was sort of trying to get them to explain not their life, but their life in terms of what they're trying to do in conservation. And it was utterly bewildering sometimes how much time and effort of their life they put into just trying to either solve a problem that would make the world a better place, or trying to just stop logging. It was sort of all these different things they were trying to do, and that's what sparked the title They Do What, because it's they do what? That's what they do. And that was the interesting part of it. So it did spark from that, and I think the conservation side is there is so much out there now, but I think the thing we're finding now is the misinformation, but that's with everything. What is actually real? And even I find myself now listening to stuff going, it doesn't sound right. Whether it's for conversation or against conversation, it's and then what is real? And that's the hard part. And so finding those people you can really trust is the hard part. And that was sort of one of the things that it came from. And that was back then. It was okay, well, if you've got someone in front of you telling you one thing and it's over and over again over an hour podcast, yeah, they could be lying. But you'll get caught out at some point, especially if you're putting it out there like that. There's two sides to every story, but it sort of came from a bunch of different things. But with those podcasts with me, I was doing a lot of it myself, and it just sort of got a bit too time.
Oh yeah, it's a lot to
time poor. It's a
juggle.
lot. It is a lot if you don't have help, and so that's sort of why it stopped. And I wish now it didn't, but I think it was probably just a bit of the easy way out from my side of things.
I mean, it's just at least you had that curiosity and you chased it and followed it for a little bit and probably learned a bunch of things that, you know, have probably shifted the way that you show up in the world each day based on what you've learned, which is really cool. Let's talk about now finishing your career, getting delisted and then picked back up. I've heard that's
you did do research. You did enough research.
I just listened to one or two of your podcasts. You got a lot more than some people get, so think yourself lucky. No. So yeah, tell me about the end of your career, but mostly what I want to talk about is the transition out, because that's something that so many athletes struggle with. It sounded like you had a bit of curiosity through the end years of your career. I feel very similar. I was always like, this isn't going to last forever. What's next? And so many get lost after it. So yeah, talk me through your last couple of years, getting delisted, getting picked back up, and then it's COVID times too. So an interesting period for a lot of people. But once again, loaded question. Start where you
got delisted. The club said to me, hey, we might pick you back up. There was a few, I spoke to the coach, there was a few people that wanted to get me, a few people that didn't want me to come back. But you need to go make a decision. Do you actually want to come back and keep playing? Because we sort of know where your head's at in terms of, I was reasonably honest about it.
Yeah.
And so went away, I went overseas 2019, had a good little trip, and then went, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's have a crack, come back. I only really came back on the worst contract I could have gotten, really, and just came back to sort of help out the club, help out the young boys, play VFL, just sort of spend the year doing that. That was how I thought of it. And then COVID happened, which was actually really good for me. I came straight up here and I just trained for that 8-9 weeks, pretty much every day, and it was the fittest and strongest I was ever been. And came in and was playing really good footy in the VFL, but they were just these practice matches because COVID. And then we got flown over to Perth and they said, oh, you'll play against Freo after being in the bubble over there, and then didn't look back. Then sort of just was an AFL player from that point on. Had a good 2020, lost the grand final 2020, got a contract extension for 2021. Injuries the back half of the year for me, I had a heap of injuries again, sort of just the ones that I was just dealing with, you just play with as a lot of football players do. There's no poor me there. And then end of the year, they said, look, we lost the prelim in a really bad way. I wasn't playing good footy at the end of that year either. Like, I was a bit banged up. And they said, look, get back to you in a couple of weeks. Mac called me on a Monday, Andrew Mackey, said, yeah, we're not going to offer you a contract. I went, okay, thanks for everything, great. And then for that 2 hours, I was a mess. Like, I was like, Jesus, I don't know what's going on happen here. And then I asked myself, I was like, what happens if they offered you a contract? What would you have said? I said, I would have said no. I'm like, well, what are you worried about? And that was sort of like the start of the transition out. And then the transition out it's been interesting. It's been interesting because I would have said I was very, very ready for it, but I probably didn't fully understand what it was going to be like and how hard it was in terms of, they talk a lot about you have structure because you're told this is what you've got to do, and this is how you've got to do it. But I think the hard part was, like, I know what I've got to do, but when you're training and when you've got it in front of you, you just get better at something because you just have to do it every day. Yeah. And I need to word this the right way so it doesn't sound silly, but like, I know the things that I need to do, but if it's not structured for me in front of it, I don't know how to structure it. So learning how to structure it for myself, to teach myself to learn, that's the hardest part. Yeah,
it's to build that discipline again. It's like where you've got, and I touched on it briefly before, this world where, like, you've got your physio that's trying to get you to help win the game, you've got your coaches, you've got your teammates, everyone around you is like cheering you on to win, to, you know, achieve this common goal. But then you like step out of that and it's like, wait, I need to like come up with the roadmap myself to get to this thing myself. And it's like a lot more self-sufficient.
And you've just taught me something, because you get told so much, oh, you're an AFL player, you're so disciplined. Well, in a respect, we are. But in respect, we're not, because we're not disciplined about setting our training schedules or setting anything up. We're just disciplined about turning up and getting there and getting it done, because we sort of have to.
Mm-hmm.
But the discipline part of it is not setting it up.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the hardest part coming out, is that, like, the easy comment is saying, oh, you get everything done for you. Well, I didn't. I did a lot of the stuff myself, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
There's stuff that you just don't do, like your private health fund. The club just do it because that's easier. But yeah, that I think in itself was the hardest part to work out, is that you obviously need to get better at something, because whatever you're going to do next, you've got to learn, whether it be meter, if that's the option you go, or some type of business. And the discipline of working out how to get better at it, that is the bit that I think is the hardest part for people that come out of professional sports.
Yeah, and coming from like being the top % of what you do to then starting something new, and a lot of athletes can, piggyback off their profile and stuff to help on that. But a lot of the time you're just starting at the bottom of a whole new career. And the way that I like to look at, like, for instance, what I'm doing with mental health keynote speaking and podcasting and stuff, for so long, like, you come from being the best at what you do, usually in a room of, an AFL player, top 100 in the world surfer, but then you have to build up the skills again. And the way that I like to look at it is, I feel like I'm an apprentice at what I'm doing. Like, it's going to take me 5 years to even get to a point where I'm like, just know enough about stuff to maybe start getting good. So having that mindset has helped me so much with, like, building my business, being like, all right, I'm 3 years in. I don't expect to be like the best there is now, but as long as I'm seeing improvement, getting feedback, it's like, okay, you can feel a lot better about it. But the ego hit of going from, like, the best in the room at what you do to, like, hey, you're just part of the pack and you got to build it up. Obviously, the discipline and mindsets and structure that we do have as athletes can help with that, but some people go, fuck, it's too hard to climb that mountain again to get to the top, like, that we've climbed as athletes. If that makes that resonate with you a bit.
Yeah, I think it's that, and then also when you come into top sport, so a professional sport, there's always someone around there that's just going to help you because you're there. And when you do it by yourself in the professional world outside of sport, yeah, you can find people, but they're doing their own shit. They don't have the time
to just help
that a professional athlete does. So for a footy player in a team sport, like, I walk into a footy club at 17 years old and I've got 10, 15 people that will just drop everything to help you, or say, yep, at 3:30 this afternoon we're going to go do handballs for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to do, because you can't handball on your left hand. That actually happened to me. Yeah, or after training, every night, day, you're with me after training because you can't handball on your left hand. So that's what we're going to do. Whereas with you, who's grabbing you to say, hey, we're going to go keynote speak for an hour every Monday afternoon?
Yeah, no one.
No one. And then to find someone, you've got to go seek it and probably pay them and set up the time because they're busy as well. And so I think that side of things as well, if you've been ingrained in professional sport for so long, it's working out that, and this is probably what people allude to when they just use the easy analogies that they use. Like, you're so disciplined, you should be able to do that. No, because we're not disciplined in the way that you need to be when you come out of professional sport. Yeah. So I think there's that part of it as well that you've got to learn that will take a long time. And I'm still probably only just worked it out today. Yeah. But it's just it's a work in progress. For sure. And everyone's different. Everyone's different. Everyone does it better or worse than others. And it's just finding your way through it. Yeah.
Let's now just talk about this last little chapter, the last, 2 years of your life since being fully retired, work-wise, business-wise. I know you're doing some work with your partner in her diamond and jewel business, which I probably butchered already, but you can tell more on that. But what's that been like, sort of 1.5-year-old, did you say earlier?
Yeah, he's 2 in a couple of months.
So I'm guessing that's a huge part of your life, getting to spend a lot of time with your children. What's the last 2 years been like, and what's been getting you up in the morning?
So we've got a jewellery business called the Presswick Place. So it's fine jewellery, dealing with lab diamonds, especially in moistenites. So she's day-to-day in that. I sort of help out where needed, but she's the brains and the brawn mainly behind that. And then I'm a business broker as well. So I've set up my own little business broking business, selling more financial services, so financial planning,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of just fell into that as much as anything. I've got a few guys up here that I've sort of helped mentor me a little bit, sort of alluding to what I was touching on just before. People that would help sort of set up the roadmap of where to go. And that broking is very new, but that's sort of my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then just looking at little different businesses here or there that we could do as start as side hustles and see where they take.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what we're trying to do at the moment. More the easily scalable businesses that we can sort of just drop and run, and sort of all the stuff you see on Instagram these days that all these big entrepreneurs are pushing. So looking at that too, we've got a potential one of that we're looking at as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's good to always have your options open. I feel like as well, after having a career where everything is about sport, to start to open your mind and understand that, like, sure, there was some like amazing contracts and stuff that I was getting paid, but then you like start to see these people who scale businesses massively, and you're like, wow, just with the right little tweaks and the right structures and systems in place, like there's so much opportunity out there if you have, I guess, the freedom to, go for it with sort of entrepreneurship, which I'm loving. It's kind of, you can kind of make it up as you go. I don't know if you want to call what I do an entrepreneur. I kind of just like pull different parts of different businesses and put them all together and made.
Isn't that exactly what an entrepreneur
is? That's literally what an entrepreneur is. So yeah, it's just about trying to pull together what works. But the last question I ask everyone's the same question, and I'm sure you probably haven't listened to a Good Humans podcast, so you'll probably get stumped by this one too. But what does being a good human mean to Lachie Henderson?
I think always, how do I put this? It's hard to always, you can always easily say that you've got the right intention.
Mm.
And I suppose, I like to see both sides of every scenario.
Mm.
But I think even if this is a very odd, very broad answer, I think if you can look at yourself fundamentally, and that if you asked a lot of people that what you've just done or tried to do and the intention was there, and you can explain yourself and then feel okay about it yourself, because not everyone's going to agree with you. It's just not the world. But the vast majority go, yep, your intention was right. I think that. I think you can make bad decisions with the right intentions. And in my opinion, that's okay. Or you can do the wrong thing with the right intentions. But on the flip side of that, that can be an easy out for people doing horrible things. Mm-hmm. But I think it's pretty black and white with how I'm trying to explain this.
No, it just sounds like living by solid foundational values is kind of what I'm hearing there. It's
like you can be dumb and make stupid, dumb decisions. Mm-hmm. And the intention might have been right. In my view, you're still a good human. Yeah. Even if those dumb decisions had some very horrible outcomes.
Yeah, some terrible implications for dumb things. But yeah, from this podcast, I've had people have made some dumb decisions and, been to prison, been to what most wouldn't view as a good human, but have definitely turned their life around and realised, that sometimes we can get led astray, sometimes we can make bad decisions with kind of average intentions because we don't have, the
full picture.
Pardon?
The full picture, the full
we don't have the full picture. We don't have the bandwidth to be able to handle that because of our, traumas that we've dealt with, because of what we've been modelled growing up. We've been told that this is what good intentions look like. But the more you see the world, the more you expand, the more you understand, you realise, if we can, live by those solid foundational values, live with good intentions, and it's all right to get stuff wrong sometimes.
And I think that's the thing. There's too much judgment. Because I try so hard not to judge people because I've seen too many people that have been for the wrong reasons and sometimes for the right reasons. But I got schooled early on, and I won't go into much detail on it because I don't really want to, but he explained to me at the time why people do certain things, and you can't judge them so much for it. It was a really stark conversation. And I think in saying what I said, if it came across at all coherent just before about in answer to your question, I think the judgment piece of it is a good piece as well, because as you said, people go to jail, all sorts of different things. There's horrible things out there that people do to each other that I'm not taking anything away from that. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that I think generally most people are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And if they don't have all the information, or if they make it a bad decision, they might go so far down one way that they can't get themselves out of it, and it just creates a snowball effect that's even worse.
Yeah.
And it's not they were trying to be bad, it's not they were trying to do the thing, but it just got them into that spot. And so I think being a good human goes back to that. No judgment on other people, because you're probably just as bad as that person you're judging.
If you lived every day in their shoes.
Yeah, if you lived every day in their shoes, or just do things with the right intentions. But the only way you know that is, yes, to yourself, but then also if you pick 10 people and you explain the situation to them, you'd hope that 60 to 80% of them were agreeable, like, hey, yeah, I can see that your intention was right, but this is where you stuffed up.
And that's the thing, we just don't listen enough. Like, I'll give you 2 examples of that, of like people having such strong judgment towards someone, but without really understanding the full picture. So I had this guy's a friend of mine, his name's Kenny Steele, he's an NFL player, played for the Miami Dolphins, got like a $36 million last contract, like weapon. But he was one of the first people to start taking a knee during the American anthem, because they were standing up against police brutality. There's so many people disproportionately that were black that were being murdered by police in situations that they shouldn't have been. So he was like, I was standing up against that. That's why I was taking a knee. Nothing against police, nothing against military, against police brutality. And he's like, if anyone gives me 5 minutes of airtime and I could talk to them, then 99% are going to agree with me. But I'm plastered all over the media like this person who's anti-police, anti-this. And I had such a beautiful conversation with him, and like why he wanted to get into the activism and blah, blah. Such a beautiful guy. But like, majority who watch the news will judge him and go, this guy's, against American police. And it's like, well, no, if you actually gave him 5 minutes to listen, he's not at that. And then like another example of that is I've had a guy who's been to prison but now works on like helping youth at risk from going to prison basically. And he's like, you see all over the media and the news and 7 News Gold Coast talking about like these young teen crime and stuff. I definitely like hate so much of the stuff that's going on. But this young friend of mine, he's like, well, that kid's out there doing that because it's better than them being at home getting beaten up by their parents or this or that or going, and it's like, and then as well, everyone throws at them, like lock them up, throw away the key, rather than like, I wonder what's going on for them. Like having a little bit of empathy rather than judgment is so important, right? It goes such a long way.
Anyone that listens to the news or reads a paper and believes what's in them, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. I won't say anything too horrible on this, but like, come on. Like, really? I think it's really spot on. Like, you just can't, unfortunately these days, you just can't read or see anything nearly. You can't even see something these days and think that it's the absolute truth. Yeah. And so, but the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like where there's a golden pill that's going to fix all this.
Having a bit of self-awareness.
But the podcasts help. They definitely help. But even with the podcast, you might hear Joe Rogan talk to someone, and then there's just this bunch of people saying the complete opposite.
Yeah. Or you get a 10-second clip from a 3-hour episode. It's like...
Exactly. A small bit. There's small bits out of this episode that could paint me out to be hating certain football clubs or things like that.
We'll keep it nice. We won't clip them up. We won't give them the raw files.
Yeah, exactly. No. But I think, it is spot on. Like, you just don't know what someone's been through or is going through, and you need to be very careful before the judgment comes. Yeah. And if the judgment comes too quickly, that's not being a good human. Yeah, I agree. It's just about having that empathy and sort of, not judging anyone before really understanding what they're going through. And if you do want to judge what they're going through, it's usually a good look at yourself that you've had the privilege to not have to go through the challenges that some have. But anyway, we could talk for hours, and hopefully we can have a game of golf one day soon and keep this friendship, I guess, that's just started going. So thank you so much for jumping on Good Humans Podcast. Thanks for having me. It was great.